Hey, good morning, John. Great to see you this morning. Good morning, everyone. Good to see folks coming along. I don't know about where you are, but the cool fall. I've heard that all over. Actually, the internet is a little wonky this morning. The interwebs are. We were having issues here a little earlier, so I think that's a true statement all over. Hey, good morning, Kim Luce. How are you? So good to see you. Glad you are here this morning. Good morning, Diana. Hope you're well. Good morning, Donna. How was life on the boat? Oh, actually, it's really beautiful. This is the time we live for on the boat. Like these, it's been a little cool, and it's been, where we are is a little bit of a churn to it. So there's always a little motion in the boat right now. But actually, I kind of like that, and I think we all do. We've all kind of come to like really like that piece. Hey, Sandra, I missed you. So glad to see you here this morning. So yeah, so the winds, sometimes the winds get a little much, but where we are is pretty protected, and we get some motion. But thanks for asking. It's been nice. We have had the heat on. That's been heat in the middle of September is a little weird, but it seems like the cold has given up for a little bit, and we're gonna. It'll be nice here. We've got a good week of beautiful weather coming up. So Jamie's in the house, everybody. Hey, Jamie. Good to see you. Glad you are here. Hope you are well and that all is going on. Hope your time at the dentist was good. Getting the getting the old chompers worked on. So, good morning, everybody. So glad you're here. Coming along. How is everybody? So glad you're here. Yeah. So Um, yeah, we're just hoping that we'll get through the season without any serious hurricane action coming into the south coast here. That would be nice. Um, they're already they've run out of names, and so cheesing away. Nothing new about that, honey. Yeah. So yeah, they've run out of names. They're now on beta and gamma or something. So hey, good morning, Priscilla. Great to see you. So it's craziness with the storms and with everything else, and as 2020 seems to be bringing us just more crazy of the same. So uh, that's that's there. Yeah, mostly if the boat's rocking, it just means the wind's blowing. Kind of sorry, but so good morning, everybody. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome. It is the 23rd day of September. It is the first full day of fall that we find ourselves in this. Again, I don't know where you are, but in my world, it's opening up to a beautiful little Indian summer part of this week. So super looking forward to that. And life in the church is we have things coming up. We have events, and we're coming into Rally Day this weekend, which we are super excited about. So life is returning. Life is bringing its goodness with us. So um, and as it returns, part of that there's been this thing that I've heard somebody else mention and a few other people, and I feel like I want to talk about this morning because it's been a part of kind of where we find ourselves. It's been this thing that's been kind of percolating around. I heard somebody name it, and I was like, yeah, that's going on, isn't it? And so, and I want to start it with this story from Jesus, in where he shows up in, this is from the 5th chapter of Luke. And it says, and it came to pass that when he was in a certain city, a man full of leprosy who, seeing Jesus, fell on his face and asked him, saying, "If you will it, Lord, you can make me clean." And he put forth his hand and he touched him. "I will. You be clean." And immediately the leprosy departed from him. And he charged him. He said, "Tell no one, but go and show yourself to the priests and offer to them and make an offering for the cleansing according to what Moses has commanded for the testimony to them." This notion of leprosy that we are, I think we're in a little bit of a leprous time. Now, it's not just, I'm not just talking about the disease that seems to be swirling around. I'm not talking about that, although that is a component of it. It seems to have generated this. Because here's the thing about leprosy. Leprosy is historically a disease, and now often leprosy was used for a number of different diseases. It wasn't just the notion of leprosy, but leprosy particularly had these qualities. Didn't think you'd be talking about this morning, did you? That leprosy was, it is a disease of numbness. It's a disease of numbness. And that actually when we talk, what happens is that if somebody has a patch of numbness, a patch of leprosy, and it creates this weird feeling, and that people afflicted would start scratching it. And it's those scratch points that would get, because they're numb, people couldn't feel, and they would get infected, and that they would end up losing limbs as a result. Like that's how it's this neurological disease that ends up preventing people from being able to feel their own bodies, and so that they would have these problems, and that in the most kind of horrible ways, that even parts of their bodies would even fall off as a result of these infections. And so they weren't considered. So lepers were considered unclean, and they were cast out of society. They weren't allowed to connect with anybody else. They certainly were not allowed to be touched by anyone else. And in the Levitical law, the only treatment for this was exclusion. They had to cry, "Unclean, unclean," everywhere they went. And so there's this way in which this time of exclusion, this numbness, gives way to exclusion. That was the biblical treatment for leprosy, and so Jesus comes along, and here is this leper that comes and does what? Falls on his face and beseeches the Lord, says, "If you will it, I can be clean. If you will it, I can be clean." Falls on his face. See, I think this is kind of where we are right now. We've been at this thing for a while. We've been at this thing for a full season, as I talked about yesterday. The full season of summer has been absorbed by all of this exclusion from one another. And here we find ourselves numb to it. I don't know about you, but I find myself numb, and that as we're in this place where the world is calling us forward, where kids are going to school, where all of the kids that I know are involved in sports right now. Almost every one of them are in sports. They're all of these different, and yeah, there's all these kind of different ways that we're doing it and going on, but that there's this calling back into life. That yet there's this numbness of heart and numbness of mind that's on board about like, what do I do today, sort of thing, or what do I feel today, or how do I connect with the world and the people around me, and that we're numb into it and in it. And I think this little phrase of Jesus' healing of the man full of leprosy is actually really powerful, because what happens? Jesus reaches out and touches him. Jesus violates the law. Notice, Jesus violates the law. The only treatment, as I was saying earlier, the only treatment under the law for lepers was quarantine. It was to be ceremonially pushed to the edges of the world, to be set in their own communities, outside, isolated, and away with only other people that carry that disease. Now, Jesus touches the leper. Jesus violates the law for the sake of healing. Friends, we're in this place where where we've got to violate the risk the numbness. We've got to reach into the numbness. We've got to reach out to those who would be numb. To reach out to the numbness within. To let Jesus reach out to the numbness that is within ourselves. And how do we do that? We fall face first. We bow down. We say, Lord, give me strength to come back into this life. Lord, give me will to come back into connection with the world. Because the laws of entropy and the laws of isolation, all this sort of stuff, are still very much pressing on us. And if we don't think the hells, if we don't think the parts that would wish us dead, that are working around us, would not rejoice in the contraction of our world and the isolation of our world, then we are sadly mistaken. There are voices of fear within our hearts. There are voices of fear within our world. There are voices of fear in which we're constantly being called into these places where we need to isolate, where we need to... And I'm not saying we don't need to take disease seriously. I'm not saying... But I'm saying that there is a king. And that king has conquered all of these fears. And that king and that emperor, that one is Jesus the Christ. And it's funny how Jesus says to go about this. He says, don't tell anybody, but go show the priests. It reminds me of the attribution to St. Francis, who says, in all things preach the gospel, when necessary use words. It's not about how we're going to live our life or how we're going to tell people we need to be. Or we're going to tell people how they need to be. We need to do this. I need to do this. No, it's simply how we're going to live. How we're going to show ourselves to that which is holy. How are we going to show ourselves to the authority of the world? How are we going to represent ourselves? How are we going to be ourselves in this world? That, friends, is the path of healing of the world. The great René Girard said this: the victorious general here is Christ, and the victory is the cross. What Christianity conquers is the pagan way of organizing the world, and the enemy leaders in chains behind their conqueror are the principalities and the powers. When they say principalities and powers, they mean the fears, they mean the worries that cause us to control one another, that cause us to shrink ourselves, that causes us to withdraw from the world, that causes us to withdraw from those that we love, that causes us to want to dominate and control the world, that wants us that the principalities and powers that cause us to want to get all the stuff and all the things that we need, or we think we need, or all the stuff that we attribute to ourselves. The principalities and the powers are enchained by the victorious general that has come to organize the world in a new way. And the beginning of that organization, I think, is right here in this little story of the healing of the leper, where the healing of the leper comes along. And Jesus breaks the rules and touches him. Where Jesus says, don't go flapping your gums. Just go show the world the light that you are in this world. Go shine to those who would see it. And then re-engage in the world. According to offer yourself as a sacrifice for cleansing, as Moses commanded. Go and participate in this world as it is. Not isolate, not break away, not broken. Friends, when Jesus was healing lepers, He wasn't just talking about disease, progressive neurological disease. He was talking about the numbness of our own hearts, the isolation of our own being from those whom we love and we care about, the isolation in our being of the gifts of the world that we need to bring to the world, and that the world so desperately needs us to bring, that the numbness in our hearts and the callousness that has grown up over this age, the film when Paul is on the road to Damascus, there's this moment where the scales fall from his eyes, and nobody really knows what the heck that means. Like, did he have scales on his eyes? Like, nobody understands. But there is this way of seeing that we've developed that sees to have a film over it, and there's been a time for all of this, but the time for healing has now come. The time of fall, the time of harvest, the time of all good gifts coming from God has now come to us. And I submit to you that we, you and me, could fall face first a little bit to Jesus, to submit ourselves and hear the words of the one saying, I will, and you be clean now. That our hearts may be alive again, not just in God, but alive in one another and in the joys of fellowship and grace and peace that we're born into this world for. All right, friends, that's the journey today. I invite you to bring yourself to God and bring yourself to this numbness that has beset all of us a little bit in these days, and call out to those whom you are connected to the people in your life that are the face of Jesus for you, whoever they might be, and reach out in your own heart, that the scales might fall away, that the white flakes and the numbness of your being and the lack of circulation in your life might find new life as we simply bow down and submit to the one who made us, and the general that conquers all the principalities. All right, friends, that's my hope for you today. We'll be back tomorrow with another 11:11. Again, I am so glad. Amy, good morning. So glad you're journeying with us as well. Good to see each one of you here today. It is a gift that each of you are journeying with us in these days. This is. So I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. All right. Peace and grace, friends.